Hello, welcome back to the YMAO Podcast. It is episode 17, and I arose from my bed. I was gonna go to sleep, and I realized I didn't film a podcast episode. I told myself that the rule was that I was going to film an episode if I was home, and I'm trying my best not to slack off. I was really close to. So, yeah, I'm gonna do my best to yap for 30 minutes or so, and if you get something from this episode, hopefully you will. Hopefully you learn something, and if you don't, hopefully you fall asleep to my monotone voice. I don't know, and we'll see. Today was my first day back in volleyball, my first day back in the gym, and I was so excited to just get back into things. I feel like my schedule has been all over the place. I've been finding a bunch of different ways to make up for the time or to use the time in a very purposeful way. And I felt like I did do that. I felt like I was able to plan a lot of things out, work out what I want to do for all these projects. But it felt temporary because the schedule, the extra energy I had, how I was putting that energy into things, it felt like I was able to do that because I was missing out from something that I would normally have in my life, which would be like volleyball or exercising. And it's important to have everything that you want to have in your life, and just so you have balance. If you want to do things that are more physical, like traveling or have experiences or go to the movies, that's important, or just as important as the mental things that you set out for projects or things that you want to do to get some achievement or be successful, right? And again, I have to flip my phone over. I get so distracted so quickly. But yeah, I'm finally getting back into the swing of things. It feels a little bit of anxiety. I don't know if I'll be able to handle all of the work or find the energy to push myself after a long day. My schedule always has me doing something right after work and then doing the podcast. So I feel like lots of times I'm going to, like, my trials and tribulations is going to be struggling to do this podcast because I'm going to pretty much finish whatever I'm doing by 10:30 or 11. And, obviously I'll have the 30 minutes to record, and that is without planning, that is without writing out ideas. And I have been trying for a while to write scripts and stuff or write ideas down. Like, some of my friends were suggesting to write down ideas for the podcast episode, so that when the podcast episode comes around, maybe it won't be as tiring to come up with things to say because I'll know what to say, or I'll have like a general idea of what to talk about. But I'm gonna be honest, like, once I start doing something and start trying to be repetitive about it, it feels like I don't have the same type of creativity, or I feel like I don't really know what to talk about. I feel like with a lot of podcasts, people will usually branch off of things like current events or new things that happen in social media or new terms. Like, there's always like a niche to it, but the self-improvement and personal growth space is odd because lots of things are mostly just iterations of what people have already been saying for years, and it doesn't get any easier, right? Like, you can talk about personal growth, you can learn about personal growth. Personally, I've read like 20 or 30 personal growth books and have watched hours and hours of all of these self-improvement and productivity channels, and obviously, like, a lot of it is repeated and it's good, but it doesn't make doing things that are hard any easier. Like, hard things are always going to be hard, and it's always going to be hard to push through that even when you have the tools to make yourself unstuck or to be less to procrastinate less. And it's just yeah, it's an odd space to end up finding things to talk about. I'm obviously inspired because I recently came out with some cool ideas that I had for scheduling, and I talked about that in a different podcast. And I'm currently working on trying to make it more visual because it honestly felt like a bunch of chaotic thoughts. And I'm glad that I filmed the episode, so I in a way wrote down the ideas, and now I can kind of like go back and try and make it easier and more digestible. But yeah, I don't know what the right way to go about doing things consistently, and also doing things that just kind of like recharge the creative process. The creative process is so new to me. And I if anyone is an artist, or I don't know, like an artist or a painter or even a content creator, like I would be curious to know what what you do in order to spark inspiration or to have it continue to feel like it's fun. Um, because right now I feel like this podcast, it's like 20% fun and it's 80% there to keep myself accountable to the mission, to keep myself accountable so that I don't slack off when it comes to creating content. And like I guess like an extra 5%, like I already gave 100%, but there's like an extra 5% in there because I want to make sure that, I'm here for my community and I can answer any questions, and I continue to try and impact you guys in a way where it's helpful. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm going a little crazy. Like we're 17 episodes in. I've been talking to this camera, just staring at the camera and talking about anything, and I don't know if it's helping. Hopefully it is helping at least one person. And yeah. Hopefully we're doing something here, right? So, yeah, getting back into the swing of things. I was out of volleyball for about 4 weeks, and it was super short. Lots of people who do or have sport injuries end up kind of taking a break for longer. So, in one way, I was blessed. Um, Getting back into things is never easy. It's a little scary, and I think I think that the easiest way to jump back into things is to just do it. Like I think for me, I like even though I already set rules and stuff for this podcast, I even found myself today hesitating. Should I do an episode? Should I not do an episode? Oh, I feel like I have nothing to talk about. Maybe I shouldn't. And it it's just very, I think it's a bad habit to rely on inconsistent things like motivation, and for me personally creativity, because those moments and inspirations kind of come and go. It's hard to plan or to just film an episode when inspiration strikes. And so like inspiration in general is something that kind of needs to be written down, and you kind of have to take note of it, and I have to do a better job of it. I feel like I'm chronically online. Well, not chronically. I'm like semi chronically online, and I see so many different things and have so many different thoughts, and I have to do a better job of just conceptualizing it and just writing it down, and then kind of making sure that it I don't know, that it ends up keeping the things that I know are fun as fun. I think that's what I'm currently struggling with. I have never been good at doing things for fun. I've always done things for achievements or to work hard or success or monetary value. And at this point, like running a business or starting a new endeavor just generally starts with having fun, because if you try to start a business where you absolutely hate it, like sure, you might make money off of it. It might feel great, but you'll just feel really dead inside, in my opinion, or at least that's how I felt. When I just wanted to get into things monetarily and I kind of had that mindset for a business, I ended up making an Etsy shop at one point, and I was doing like, kind of the drop ship vibe, but the Etsy version where you pretty much handle orders that get processed through Etsy, and then the shirts get made somewhere in another country and get shipped off to someone back. And it had to do a lot with marketing and advertising, and in some way, like, it was really cool to try and sell products and to create products on Etsy. But I am not like the craftsman in Etsy, and I think that was like the biggest thing. Like, I have never really been drawn to arts and crafts. I think it's really cool, but I just think that I have never been the type to even create those things. And so I found it. I think I just ended up obviously being demoralized because it wasn't working after like a few months. But also, I think it just didn't really speak out to me. And I'm glad that I did it. I'm glad that I tried it. No effort in starting a business is never a bad thing, and you always learn things on the way. It's just, I learned that money isn't enough to motivate me in particular to continuing to do something for longer than a year. And this YouTube channel is like a sentiment. I've been kind of on and off and going back and forth, but it's been alive and kicking for the most part. And I feel like that's a testament to what I generally like or what I want to do. Like, I don't know how to do this whole content creation thing, but I have to be doing something right if I've been kind of floating back and forth and coming back to it naturally when inspiration strikes. It's like the first thing I think about, creating a video or creating something of like the video variety. So yeah, I feel like along with getting back into the swing of things, I really have to. I think it's important for myself and also for you to ask yourself why you're going back into the thing that you want to get into the swing of, and why it's important to you, and why you enjoy it. Like, really like dig down into your roots, into why you want to do these things. Because I mean, it gives you reason, it gives you awareness, but I think the most important thing is it gives you that intention to keep that thing around and to not get blinded and kind of forget why you even started doing a hobby or a project or a business in the first place. Um, and thinking about it now, I can't even remember, like, I can't really remember the exact reason. I mean, I wrote it down because I have a bunch of journal entries, so I'm sure I could find it if I really dig. But I'm not exactly sure of why I even started the channel in the first place. But um, I'm pretty sure that, wait, I have to check this out. But I'm pretty sure, like, my very first video, um, pretty sure my very first video is, like, just about what the channel's about. Yeah, so maybe I'll watch that back. That was a whole year ago. So, I mean, yeah, I have gone through trials and tribulations and views going up and down and trying to figure things out. And yeah, it is all a mess, and we are getting there. But I think my content creation journey and the past year and a half doing this is kind of just I mean, it's a testament, but it's also just a very good example of just how motivation goes up and down, how inspiration goes up and down, and how if you really want something to keep going, you just kind of have to have a knack for it, or you have to like intuitively or naturally want to do it. Oh man, my band-aid fell off. I know that I wanted to start doing things in general to have more fun. And I think that's probably my biggest problem. I don't really know what gives me the most fun. I know things in the past that have been fun, like playing video games, hanging out with people, um, watching YouTube videos and all this stuff. I think I think I have a lot of great ideas, and I think that I just need to write them down, and I need to be more proactive about writing down ideas and thoughts and learning how to manifest them into something that is actionable or creative. And I need to start stockpiling all these things and really just kind of just educate myself on a space and just learn more about just all this social media stuff. That's probably what I am getting from this. Just that, like, if you want to get back into the swing of things and really like succeed in it and not burn out, then write down your ideas that you already have, and then, you know, maybe like write down the things that you don't really know yet, or you don't like. If you're thinking of an idea and then you're like, oh, I don't really know how I'm supposed to create this thing, then the first thing to do is to find the questions that will allow you to, like, will unblock you from not being able to do that thing. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of things with content creation, and I don't really know like what certain things are. Like, I've been educating myself, but for example, like, I don't know what a content creator strategy is, or a content strategy is. Um, I only know about like content frequencies, and I have to like figure it out. And I have to figure out like the different ways to make myself stand out. There has to be more ways to stand out besides the job that I have, to be honest. And I have to do a better job of advertising myself or showing off the different sides of me. Because I feel like that's like how you just stand out in general. Like, not just like, I think in general, like, just standing out means just showing the parts of you that are unique and understanding what makes you unique. Um, like, outside my job, I know that one of the things that make me unique is kind of my fixation with productivity and self-improvement. And I try to share the things that I learn. I think that what I want to start doing in the upcoming episodes is I probably want to start giving advice to people in their 20s, maybe pre-20s, and things that I would tell myself, and I have to spark some notes on what I would tell myself. Um, just to test it out. I mean, why not just start now, you know? So the first thing I think the first thing that I would probably tell myself, I guess like the first piece of advice I would tell my younger self is to be kinder to the people. Yeah. I think I should have been kinder to a lot of different people, and I was definitely just like a pissy, annoying, insecure baby, I think, growing up. Like, and I'm not talking about baby like 2, 3 years old. Like, I was a baby for a long time, like until I was like 13 or 14, and life humbled me in a bunch of different ways because I ended up getting eczema, which is a skin condition, around that time, and I ended up getting a lot of insecurities about my body and my skin. But and that skin condition helped me be kinder to people, but it was like out of a place of fear. Like, I didn't want people to make fun of me, so I didn't make fun of other people. But even before that, I feel like I just had so much I was stubborn and arrogant and had a large ego, and I didn't treat a lot of people right, I think. As much as a a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid can do. It's not like I was like kicking people in the legs and lighting people on fire, but I was I think like sometimes I would snap at my parents, or I wouldn't help my brother as much, my little brother, with certain things, and I probably could have done that better. I feel like I really didn't know what to do when it came to helping friends out, especially when my friends were kind of doing things that I didn't agree with. Um, yeah, I think in general, like I just didn't know how to handle things. Um, but yeah, I would tell myself to be kinder because, well, obviously, like the corny saying, like whatever corny, like kindness makes the world go round or whatever. But really, like the positivity, I think would have got me to where I am a lot faster. I think that right now, um, in my life for the past, year or so, I feel, or not even the past year, I feel like the past like 3, 4 years, I have had a very optimistic mindset, and some friends that I've met beforehand might even date that back even farther and say that I've always been optimistic. So maybe maybe it's been longer that I've had this attitude, but at least for the self-awareness part, I recently, well, not recently, well, maybe, I don't know, 4 years goes by really fast, but 4 years ago I had more awareness that that I was optimistic and really kind to people. And I think if I was aware of it and learned to hone it a lot better earlier on, I think I would have been able to help more people. I think I would have been a lot more understanding to um, to a lot of different people that I was, that I had preconceived notions on. In general, I would have given people more slack and tried to see things from a different perspective. And I think that's really important when growing up. It's very easy to say that someone is, doing things for a certain reason, or, you know, just treating you badly, or not communicating things the right way. But there's a lot of different reasons why people end up doing bad things, and I feel like that, like truly bad people just don't really show an ounce of humanity, or don't show that they can be kind. But lots of times people will have the heart to be kind, and will generally have things that they grew up with that prevent them from being as kind all the time. Or maybe they have a problem currently that doesn't allow them to be kind, like alcoholism or a mental health issue, or they're into drugs or any other type of addiction that kind of aggravates people to have a negative mindset or treat people in a negative way. So, not like I had any of those things, but I think um, this type of perspective is super important for just being able to work with a bunch of people, because um, if you don't, then you will continue to meet people that irk you, or you will continue to meet people that piss you off, and it'll be hard to control your emotions, and more so your response to your emotions, if you don't try to see things from other people's perspectives. It doesn't mean that people aren't wrong. Like, a bunch of people can be wrong. You can be a very smart person and be right 98% of the time. It's not about the right to wrong ratio or always being right. It's just about having a perspective where you're at least aware that there's another side to the story, or there's a side that you're not communicating, or they're not communicating to you. And having this perspective at least allows you to take a step back. It allows you to breathe. It allows you to just take a millisecond, or a second or two, and it allows you to just it allows your emotions to regulate a little bit more, and it allows you to think about your response instead of just blurting out what you think or wearing your emotions on your sleeve and saying whatever first comes to mind, because it's really true that once you say something, you can't take it back. Once you say something, once you do something, it is very hard to regain that trust and honesty and communication with somebody, because trust is not really that easy to gain in people in general. People throughout life will always get hurt, and the first thing that often goes when people get hurt is trust, and along with the happiness and the loyalty and all this stuff. It's not your job to fix it, obviously, but I think it's important to really understand that these things are very fragile, and even for you it's very fragile, and it's important for you to do your job in being able to communicate with people, with being able to regulate your emotions and being able to respond in a proper way that allows you to continue communicating with people in the right way, so that if things do fall out, if people do crash out, if things just end up really, really bad, then you can at least say in your own heart that it wasn't your fault, and two, that you did everything that you could in order to make things work. And nobody can blame you. Nobody can come back after an argument and be like, well, we were arguing but they threw a chair at me. Like, if you don't throw the chair, then really you limit the things that people can say about you or why you were in the wrong, because you just restrict all more negative things, so that people have to rely on the facts and have to rely on what actually happened rather than the emotional response that you put out. And I think looking back, I definitely could have had better emotional responses across the board growing up. And I think that's why I'm saying that my advice is to be kinder, or the advice I would have told myself, my younger self, is that I would want to be kinder, because those emotional outbursts, or not even if it was an outburst, if I kept it pent up, and the way that my responses or my mood was for a week or two or a day or a month, they were just, it was such a hindrance, and it was so negative to my outlook in life. And it definitely could have just been so much nicer to be able to vent out those emotions or have a proper emotional outlet, so that the negativity and the negative mindsets and the way I was treating people wouldn't last as long as it did. I think it's just messed up to not treat people the right way, not like, no matter what age you are. Like, I'm not asking people to be self-actualized and to have perfect awareness, even my younger self, like at the age of like 12 or 13, to have perfect awareness. But you do not have to be 30, 40, 50 in order to start gaining emotional awareness and a emotional capacity to handle responses in a proper way. You can actually start that very early on. And I'm saying that obviously because I'm coming from that place. I'm also coming from the place where I know 30-year-olds, mid 20-year-olds, people my age, like 27 or 40 or 50-year-olds, that still have not grown their emotional maturity or have controlled their emotions or their responses to their emotions. And it's very obvious with some immigrant families, immigrant parents in general, but just look at older people in your family, to be honest, and you will probably find people that are very close-minded, and like at least one will be close-minded and just won't deal with their emotions in the right way. And being able to do this stuff is just super important for your mental health. If you don't get these things in check, then it'll just affect your, like, the other parts of your life. Like, yes, the emotional response stuff is like, maybe it'll help you in arguments. Like, that's the very obvious that is the very obvious application of handling emotional responses, but it goes deeper, you know, like if you end up having a public outburst, even like in the corporate world, it never ends up well. If you have an emotional outburst in public, well, welcome to the internet, and you will be absolutely roasted and put on the news for any type of angry negative thing because the media eats that up. And it's just like in this day and age, it's important to actually have mastery or some awareness over your emotional response, because it is so much easier and so much carefree when you know how to deal with your emotions and you know how to communicate with people and you don't have to walk on eggshells, because when you don't have a good understanding of your emotions or how you deal with them, then you constantly have to worry about if you're even going to respond the right way or if you're going to communicate the right way. And that's scary and it's annoying, and it makes you live your life in a way where you just fear the next thing that you're doing. You fear the social situations or even going into work or how you would act in a certain situation, and it limits you. And maybe it's okay for some people. Maybe it's okay to be like, you know what? Like, I don't do well with alcohol because every time I drink alcohol, I end up turning into someone super angry and curse everybody out. And so you avoid alcohol. Cool. That's great. And it's, obviously it's best for everyone if you are that type of drunk. But does it really fix the problem? Like the point, like there's a phrase that, drinking, what is it? How people are when they're drunk is how they would be without any filter. And so all you're doing is you're keeping that filter on you. Like, you're just keeping the filter on a lot more, and so that side never comes out. But it doesn't mean that you solve the problem. Like, that side is still there. You just have a filter over it, or you have a muzzle. Like, you're not being yourself, and you're not fixing the problem. So it's important to just fix that problem, because maybe it might not be alcohol, but at some point life is going to make life turbulent. Like, life is going to make life like you are drunk. And in the way that you, like, in the way where you might have to remove that filter because you just can't take putting that filter on you anymore. And I think when that happens, you will blow up. You will not have the tools to be able to respond to that properly, in the same way that if you're drunk, you might not respond to things properly. In the same way, actually, if you do a little bit of work on yourself, you can also handle alcohol a little bit better. You can figure out, how much you need to drink or how much you don't need to drink, and how you are when you're drunk, so that you can at least put precautions into place so that you don't do those things. But yeah, I think the moral of the story is to work on, or to be at least aware of how you handle your emotions. I think that's good enough to ask yourself that question, and if you come up with answers, then at least you can be like, you know what, like, I don't have an answer. Like, I know that I get super angry and I'm super stubborn. I don't know how to deal with it, but I know that I get angry and stubborn, and you can work around that. You can start to figure out what ways you can mitigate that, and you'll find your own way to figure it out. You really just have to start and get back into the swing of things. So, or maybe, like, for some people, it's not even about starting to get back into the swing of things. Maybe it's just starting and starting your journey for emotional maturity, so that you just don't accidentally hurt opportunities for you, don't hurt your career for you, you don't hurt any relationships that you have accidentally, Because again, like once you say something, once you do something, it's not that there aren't second chances, but you really don't want to be in a place where you have to ask people for a second chance. Try to do it right the first time. And if you mess up, that's totally okay. There are second chances. You know, people do give those, but you can really avoid a lot of issues, a lot of drama, just a lot of everything. If you just, if you're kinder to yourself, if you're kinder to other people, and you try to bring a little bit more self-awareness to how you are, especially for negative issues and whatnot. So yeah, I think that episode went really well. I think this whole advice thing is going down the right path. So we're gonna keep trying to do that for the podcast, and we'll see how it goes. For the people who joined, some people in the chat, what's up? Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you learned something, and if not, hopefully you're asleep because I was yapping the whole time. If you haven't subscribed yet, then make sure to subscribe so that you guys can see when the next episode comes out or any of the content that I make. And thank you guys for coming. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.